Hello, everyone, to a very, very different episode of Tales of the Whoniverse, where Matt has regenerated into his new form and taken on more goth fashion. Sounds a bit different. We do have similar names because middle name is Rose as well, so he's regenerated into Raven Rose. And we've got Aiden. Hi, Aiden.
Oh, hello again.
And Jess, the one who waits, the ultimate villain.
well, shit. Now we know who the one who waits is. Well, pack it all up, boys. We don't have to watch the rest of the series. Bye.
Yeah, it's the Legend of Ruby Sunday done. Sorted.
Yeah.
Okay, so today, instead of doing the Legend of Ruby Sunday, which spoiler alert has not come out yet, so despite time travel, we can't review that one. But today we're here reviewing 73 Yards, probably the most seemingly controversial of the new episodes in terms of mixed opinions, like online. But yeah, I don't know. What do some of you guys think? Like, Aiden, what were your sort of overall thoughts? Like, did you like it?
Yeah, I liked it. Like, although I'll get onto that a bit later, but I remember like when I watched it that I thought it was going to go for like kind of like a horror story, but it kind of like changed into like more of a character piece for Ruby.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think it was like after she left Wales, and then went home, and then and then the story that told, like, where Ruby ends up going, like, living her life like into her 40s, and then stops like the new incumbent prime minister Roger ap Gwelin. Like, yeah, I hope I did not butcher that.
I think it's like William or something. I think, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like,
anyway.
Yeah, it's like yeah, we'll just say Roger. Because, yeah, if I did butcher that, I do apologize.
Good.
And yeah, it was like an interesting story that was told. And although I'll be honest, like, there was one main thing that I did not like about it, like, which was like because there's the whole mystery, like, with like who is this woman that's like 73 yards away at all times, and if you go up close to her, then she says something that's like causes people to run away. Although I think I might know what that secretly is. It is.
Go on.
It's, don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Tales of the Whoniverse YouTube channel. I'm
and that
sorry,
makes people run away. don't listen.
No, they run. Yeah, it's like they run away to go and subscribe. It all makes sense now. Okay. But in all seriousness, though, like when it got revealed, like who the woman was at the end, I was kind of mixed on it, to be honest. Like, because I was thinking to myself, like, I would have been all right if it was like left ambiguous about who the woman was, because it could have created like some sort of mystery that would be like, wait a minute, who was this woman? Like, and it turned out, yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, and again, I'm gonna apologize for this absolute train wreck, but who's been the old woman? It was Ruby all along. Yeah, I'm sorry. I had to do that.
It was needed.
Of course.
I don't know, Jess. What did you think on that about the episode overall, and also the ending?
As I'm a big Black Mirror fan, I understood it a little bit better than most people, because it's sort of that kind of episode where it has lots of twists and turns, and you kind of have to have the novelization or breakdown to kind of fully understand it. And I kind of like that. I don't think we should be fed everything on a spoon. Whereas obviously Doctor Who is kind of been like that for a while.
Mm.
Yeah, no, I quite liked it. Obviously, they probably made some cuts with the political stuff, potentially due to cutting room floors, or they've saved it for later in the season, or season 2, 3. Because I know that there was filming for Roger A.P. Williams' character at the time during last year, I believe. It seems a bit odd that they've cut it down. So it's either the BBC's gone, hey, you can't do that, or the BBC's gone, you haven't got enough room to put it in.
Did
In which
we know
case,
that they cut it down?
I'm sure, I think they did because there was so much shortage shoot. Then again, maybe the shoots weren't good, or maybe they felt that this felt more cleaner. I don't think Russell's afraid to go there anymore. I just think maybe for the story he was going for, maybe he needed to do a two-part. I think also it threw people off that there was no title sequence. There was a lot of things. I think speaking from others' perspectives, I think it can disorient somebody, and then if you're disoriented to the whole episode, it's only going to make your view worse in the episode.
That's interesting because I've seen a few of those sorts of comments from like other people, especially like the whether or not it needed more time around the sort of politics like plot. But I think I'm sort of more in a line with how like Aiden, how you viewed the episode, in that it didn't feel like it was about the politics stuff. Like that was definitely a thing that happened, but at the end of the day, the story was about Ruby and about her life and how it was affecting her. And so I don't know. I didn't get that same sort of criticism of like, oh, it needed more, to flesh out more of the politics side of it, and more, cutting criticism and stuff, because like for me, that wasn't what the story was trying to say. And like to try and justify that point a bit more, usually like stories end when the villain or something is defeated, or whenever you finish what you're trying to say. And I feel like if the whole story was just about Ruby having to stop Roger or Mad Jack or whatever, and it being centered around that side of it, then that's when the loop would have closed, and that's when you would get the resolution to the story. But it doesn't. It still carries on, and like obviously Ruby continues living her life for another 40 years after that. And I don't know, for me that at least showed that Ruby was trying to make rules and everything and explanations as to why the woman worked the way that she did and what she was meant to do with it. And she did sort of weaponize it against being able to stop Mad Jack, but that was Ruby kind of trying to like rationalize what was happening. The story continued on after it, and it only looped back around when when Ruby would die anyway of like old age. And it came back to find her. So I don't know. I quite liked the I liked the resolution of it. And I did guess though, unfortunately, that it was gonna be old Ruby like really near the start. Because have either of you seen Haunting of Hill House?
I'll be honest, never heard of it, to be honest with you.
Okay. Jess?
I have to repeat that question, sorry.
Have you ever seen Haunting of Hill House?
I have not, no.
Okay, so basically, both of you need to go watch it. It's a horror series on Netflix. It's just like one series, and tells like a closed story in it. And one of the characters in that, from the age of like when she's a kid, sees this like woman with like a crooked neck, that's like scary as fuck. And it like traumatizes her for her life and follows her like everywhere. And she just sees this image of this woman like everywhere, and it like drives her to like kind of madness in a way, and like ruins her life in a lot of aspects. And then basically the resolution of that, spoiler alert for Haunting of Hill House. I know this is a Doctor Who podcast, but I'm just going to spoil another completely different show. But she ends up taking her own life, and like hanging herself, and that's what like breaks the neck. And it's then she falls back through time, and she is that like crooked neck lady that's been seen the whole time. So I don't know, it kind of reminded me of that, of like it looping back around in that thing, and you know, ominous following horror lady you know, in the background, like leading to the events of the plot. I don't know, I basically from that though, I was like, this reminds me of Haunting of Hill House. I bet you it's going to be old Ruby. So I wasn't as disappointed by the ending, because I was like, from about 2 minutes in, was watching it with that in mind. But yeah, I don't know. Aidan, do you feel like there was other sorts of things like that you would have changed, or that you I don't know, wanted to be longer or anything like that? Or
yeah, because I know I already mentioned like the ending. I would have like changed like slightly to have it like be a bit more ambiguous, like to create like an air of mystery around the episode, like who was that? But yeah, I feel like they could have also like made like gone into more with like the politics side of things with this, like, and also like while I have this on my mind, because I know I'm probably going to forget, because you're mentioning like how like the whole like revelation of like Ruby being the old woman kind of remind you of like the Haunting of Hill House.
yeah,
Like there was another thing that I felt like was kind of like yeah, I'm trying to think, what's the word I'm looking for, like, yeah, it's like kind of like similar to something else, like, that makes sense, which was like from like, yeah, 'cause it feels like there's parts of the episodes that feel similar to like from, I think it was like the Curse of Clyde Langer from, I think, series 5 of the Sarah Jane Adventures, like with the whole like curse that causes like people like to hate them, because we saw that with like Ruby and her mum, like just like with Clyde Langer in the Curse of Clyde Langer, like where people say his name, they just all of a sudden hate him. Yeah, I will say I really need to go back and watch the Sarah Jane Adventures. It's been way too long.
It. I've not watched
Really?
a single episode. Yeah.
Okay, right. Well, if we get the Haunting of Hill House watched, you get the Sarah Jane Adventures watched.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit of homework for another week.
I was in that like age bracket where it wasn't. I feel like I was like too old for what it was marketed at the time, because I'm like I'm a few years older than just a few. But yeah, I think I'd enjoy it going back. Like I was like obviously Doctor Who and Torchwood at the time, but I was probably a bit too young for what I shouldn't have been watching Torchwood, but yeah, I stayed up later than I should and watched Torchwood
Like
secretly.
being the rebellious teenager.
Yeah. Was it teens? Yes, it was teens. Yeah, it's secretly hiding watching that gay show. But I've got a question for both of you. If either one of you want to take it, what do you think that the woman was saying, or like why essentially what was it about? Like, why tell a story about a creature that scares away everyone in Ruby's life, and like, I don't know, or I don't know, what was scary kind of about her that made people just run away from her?
I think it's the underlying element of the theme, which is the feeling of abandonment, because we already know that Ruby is alone. Well, not a lone child, but kind of a lone child to her mother, but also being brought up in a society where she's been adopted. And to lose one's familiar people, fellow friends, it can affect the mental state. And I think the whole episode direction is supposed to be saying, like, you've broken the circle, and then obviously, I think older Ruby, or post Trickster Ruby, is just going. First of all, sign language is going. Stay away, but because obviously from a 73 yards, she can't get closer because timey-wimey, right? So the only time she gets closer is when she dies, and that bit was horrifying. That bit was real good. I just think for what this series is doing, it is very much like Sarah Jane season 3, where they tried to experiment with different things, and I totally think that's the right thing. And I think the way the episode was built, it is good piece of work, but is it Doctor Who work? That is the debate. Obviously, a lot of people are like, it's good work, but it's not like Doctor Who. But it's like also like Doctor Who doesn't have to be the foundation of sci-fi.
Yeah.
Yeah, continue.
I was going to say that I always find it sort of strange that like people kind of put a limit on like what Doctor Who can be or what it should be in terms of like, this feels different, don't like it, or like for example, like some of the earlier episodes of the season, we thought it was going to go in a much campier direction based on those first two, and then it's like boom, literally boom, and 73 yards being like, hey, what if we put folk horror? And like also how you mentioned that final scene where like the woman was getting closer to like old Ruby, for me, the scariest scene that Doctor Who's ever done. Like, that's the only scene that I've been like, this is genuinely fucking horrifying. At least for me, at least like that's the specific kind of horror that hits me.
The only time acceptable for at midnight airing.
Yeah.
What are you gonna say, Aidan?
Cause I was gonna say, like, at that scene, I was kind of like really expecting there to be a jump scare, like I'm not sure they probably would have had that, like for like Saturday evening, like television, like for broadcast, and I was thinking like, oh god, there's gonna be a jump scare, there's gonna be a jump scare, and I was like, oh.
I was thinking of like any kids watching, like, and I think that's amazing though. That like this episode is going to stick in the minds of some children of like that it's going to have scared the absolute living shit out of them. It's so good. I don't know. It just really fucking clicked for me. Like I liked that some of it was left open for interpretation. Like I can sort of ramble a bit because I like the interpretation of obviously like centering, if this is a horror story specifically for Ruby Sunday, what is the thing that she's most afraid of? And it's, as Jess said, like abandonment. I also kind of like this idea of like us immediately, because I like overanalyzing shit. I was like, right, what does the woman represent? It's like, she
all of a sudden Raven becomes an English teacher.
It's like the curtains aren't just fucking blue, okay? I was like, yes, she's a woman, but she's more than just a woman. Because I was like, why have something that follows all of the time, that's always ever present, but like never gets sort of nearer, I guess, in a way, or is always on your mind. And I was also watching it with the mindset of like, how Ruby's attitude seems to change towards it over time. So when she's young, she's terrified of it. When she's sort of getting to sort of midlife and stuff, she finds a purpose in terms of she's got a villain to fight. She's got, she's got to save the world and stuff, and sort of repurpose like her life in that sort of way. And by the end, when she's old, she doesn't seem that fussed about it. She almost kind of embraces it. And so I was like, right, is it sort of like the spectre of death, like following Ruby around and like almost representative of her life in a way, and like it ending, and like the fact that it loops around to Ruby at the end of her life kind of sort of makes sense with that, because it's like, if you want to represent the end of her life, it's literally and figuratively Ruby from the end of her life put back. And I don't know, I liked that sort of that version of it. And for example, like some people are like asking, why the focus then on like the date scenes, and like the fact that she's become so distant because she's always obsessing about this woman that's following her. And for me, I was like, she's just obsessing almost about like her own mortality. Like, as people get older, if you only get caught up with like, oh, life's fading from me, years are going by and stuff like that, and you haven't like found a purpose, then I don't know, you can be distant to the people around you. So I don't know, that's how I took it, in that it's not until she's like, go after Mad Jack, that then there's that sort of focus. But the story's not about that. It's about, as Aiden said, like Ruby's life and her fears and everything. Like, it's her that we follow until literally the end of her life, and it's specifically her fears that are followed. And I don't know, that's what I took from it. I don't know if either of you agree or disagree, or are like, Raven, you sound insane. So.
I would agree.
Yeah,
no, it is about that midlife crisis, I think, and it's a perfect example. If you're a Doctor Who fan, you're growing up, you always find these creatures scary, and when you get older, I think the interpretation, because it's a family show, it's supposed to be a family show, you get over that fear, and I think that is sort of the better response of, yeah, this is you growing up and trying to tackle things and using that to your advantage. I was also going to mention something earlier, I forgot to. I think they could have explained where the Doctor went, but I think if you looked up the actual definition of the fairy circle, I think they really couldn't have pushed that, because obviously this is a very potential trigger warning for some people, but obviously when you cross a fairy circle, the person dies, basically. There's always darker terms where somebody gets loose with the neck, essentially getting hung, and it's like, I don't think they could have shown that, because I think they could have shown that, but they couldn't have said something about it, because that's going way out there. But I think for the show, again, it's more of a Black Mirror, and it's kind of like a breather from episode to episode. I understand we're not having a really Doctor-y episode since Boom. I think the most Doctor-y episodes has been Boom. Obviously, Space Baby is kind of just a fun kind of introduction to everything. But I feel like we'll be back on track, hopefully. I feel like the next two episodes will just be that kind of space to breathe and add some more stuff to the story. And maybe this adds up, the fact that she's able to travel back in time, or she gets older, she's been traveled by her older self, and then it stops snowing. I feel like there is some build up to that, which we'll get to see.
I disagree on that. Ooh. I genuinely think that, like, I have seen people sort of like try to apply certain like logic to it, of like, wait, is this a power that Ruby has to like time travel? And like, and the thing of the snow stopping while the loop is happening, and whether or not this will be addressed. I don't think that anything from 73 Yards is going to come back. I think it's just like an enclosed little horror story, says what it needs to, and it will never come up again. And I was going to ask actually, like, because we've talked a lot about kind of, figuratively, like, what was the story trying to say and stuff like that. In terms of the mechanics of it, which I feel like some people are getting hung up on, and that seems to be a criticism because it obviously doesn't explain like everything. But I had some like questions as to, do we actually, right, bear with me, do you two definitely think that like the fairy circle actually caused what happened? Because I'm doubtful.
I get you're doubtful. I'm going to let Aiden speak for this one because I've been speaking quite a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm trying to think about that. It's like,
I'm broken.
Yeah, just like my brain is just going error 404. Yeah, I'd say it could be a possibility. Like maybe it's like its own self-contained thing, or maybe it's the one who waits. yeah, not meaning you, Jess, but the actual one who waits.
Yeah,
the absorbable love. Nah,
I
can't take that seriously.
Yeah,
it's like you've dabbled with the one who waits. Now meet the genuine article.
I think a lot of people want to see more with some of the stuff in there, but I think sadly, just with the amount of episodes we're getting this year, next year, it's the case of you're not going to be able to get that far down. And be like, right, this is going to make sense eventually. We already know that seasons 2 is also going to continue that story. So maybe we won't get an answer, or we will get an answer. We're still 4 episodes away. This is kind of a midpoint, and maybe it has some sort of relation. Maybe it doesn't. I do agree with Nate Raven. It could be nothing. It might not get reapproached. We may never see the Roger A.P. Williams. Maybe that's why his character was so dulled down. Maybe they did have something this big, and then they realized, hang on a minute, this is not going to go anywhere just yet. So maybe they thought, hang on, let's maybe reel this back a bit. Let's add some more stuff about Ruby. And
Would
obviously,
you be disappointed if nothing ever got revisited?
I think a lot of fans would leave the show the way if it's been written like that, if it didn't have an answer to it. I think a lot of people would be annoyed. I wouldn't be. I would just be like, it's whatever, it's a different it's a different era. It doesn't have to always have an answer. But I think I've spoken to some people off camera and stuff. I've spoken to my partner, and they've gone, if it has no build up, it has no answer to it, then they might just not give series 2 a shot, because obviously a lot of people have a lot of love and show to what is the classic original show. But over time that show has changed, and obviously there's been new directions. So whether or not this is just an issue with trying these different variety things, I do think, in my wholehearted opinion, that I think Moffat should and will come back after maybe for season 3 a lot more, because it definitely seems that Moffat is writing the shooty works, and then Davies works good with like that relationship build up and stuff. Maybe Empire Death will be the one that will go absolutely banger. So 73 yards. I think personally, if at the end of this possibly would be a 9 or 8 or 10 at the end. If after all the series has gone down, but at the moment it's my top episode, because obviously I like Black Mirror. I feel like this is very spooky. Wow, monster doesn't have to exist. But this is a perfect example of why it should be aired at the midnight, and I wholeheartedly agree on that one. I feel like obviously we're in this kind of state of like Whoa, scary thing.
Well, I mean, it's airing at midnight for us fucking sad people who have stayed up to watch it, but like, it's still, what time is it on normally? 6 or 7 or something?
It airs
Yeah, I think
at
it's
6
7.
o'clock every Saturday. Yeah, it's 6 to 7. So people can still watch. It's the problem is it's very American focused, which I think a lot of people are feeling like that's a letdown because it's a British show. Now, in my wholehearted opinion, you shouldn't blame the Americans for wanting a piece of a brilliant show. You know, it's happened before. I just think, with especially the movie, I think there's obviously a bad rep at that, but I think we're not as bad as Whittaker. I feel like Whittaker's writing was like all over the place, but like the viewing figures at the time were very much interesting. But you know, Nishuti's era obviously is a new era, and I think this whole direction with the myth and stuff, it you know, maybe it won't have an answer, maybe it'll just be, oh, this is cool, you know. And I think it's really cool to not just use the Chloe spell every 5 minutes going, boom, look at me, I'm the cloister bell. It's like, I think that's really cool because I feel like we don't get much. And we've also had revisitations of Classic Who as well with the potential future timeline issues, which we really didn't have in New Who before now.
That's true.
I feel like they're trying to work some elements. You know, we may be in a state of like this is just after when Tom Baker left, and it's sort of like that era where you just sort of not sure how you feel about it, but you kind of okay with it. And I think a lot of fans are probably going to be probably will end up disappointed at the end of the series. I think the prediction probably will be a lot of fans will feel like this doesn't feel right. I feel like there's not enough here to go on. I think what they'll do for season 3, if they do make a season 3, depending how season 2 goes, is I think they take that time to go, right, this is what fans like. You know, obviously if they want to say, you know, we don't like fans anymore, that would be a real punch in the arm. But I do think season 3 will hopefully listen to fans a little bit more.
I have mixed opinions on this because, like, I don't think that necessarily online Doctor Who fans can be taken as like what the general consensus is.
Oh, definitely not.
Stuff.
Yeah.
I was just thinking from the wider aspect, but yeah, continue.
Yeah, because like I don't know. I mean, it'd be interesting to sort of know like what people who like don't watch Doctor Who at all like usually think of this era, or if it people who this is their first era would be thinking, because like I don't know, I haven't had a problem with it leaning a lot more into like the fantasy element, and like I feel like a lot of the not a lot of the criticisms, but some of the criticisms of this episode have definitely come from that place of like it doesn't explain the things. Where's the explanation? Like where does the Doctor go, and why this piece of string? Who made the trap? Who wrote those messages? How does Ruby time travel? Like all these sorts of things, and it's like, right, it's not about that. Like I'm gonna go off on a slight tangent, but have either of you seen the film Donnie Darko? I know I'm making a lot of references in
Yeah. Yeah,
No,
sorry.
I've
This
seen
is,
it.
I was going to say, this is another one I haven't.
God damn. Okay. Very briefly. In that, like, ominous sort of rabbit figure says that the world will end and stuff. And in that, if the way that it gets explained and stuff is that it's a splintered off timeline that Donnie, like, saves the world by kind of sacrificing himself and doing stuff. I swear I'm going to a point, but, like, there's two versions of that movie. One that does actually fully explain it in the director's cut, so that's why I can say, hey, it works this way. But there's the much better version of the movie which doesn't do that. And it just leaves it for you to sort of fill in the blanks and stuff like that. And I propose the sort of idea that if 73 yards explained how all of the stuff worked and went, oh, did you know that 1,000 years before this story there was a group of people who created the fairy circle and bound an evil spirit to it, and then the evil spirit was let loose and possessed the politician, and and it was Ruby that was it splintered off into an extra timeline, and Ruby had to sacrifice her own lifespan to do it, and that was the explanation, and there was maybe some extra details. I propose that would have been a much worse version of 73 yards, and yet
I completely agree.
What a lot of people are asking for.
I think people like to be spoon-fed. I think, unfortunately, the problem is Doctor Who's always had this thing going, hey, this is the answer, and it makes more sense. But for 73 yards, it doesn't have to be that. And I'll say it again, this episode is a midpoint. I think they just wanted to go, let's have this Welsh folk horror story. Let's do something. Why maybe a little explanation going, this circle could have killed somebody. Like I said, it could have been way too dark for Doctor Who. I think if you said, especially if it's set at 6 o'clock, if people sat down at kids and they start hearing that the Doctor went to the gallows, I think that would be a little bit concerning. So we're at the midpoint. I think it was just like this makes more sense to be here. I'm very excited to see where Dot Bot will go, because if you like Black Mirror and you like kind of the era, how that goes, that was very much like that. And next episode is going to be very on point with some of the other Black Mirror episodes. It feels like a combination of like Sarah J imagining if it's like a different reality. We've got Susan Tis, we've got Triad. Maybe it will be, maybe it's parallel universe, whatever. If it's a case of, this thing is growing in exponential, let's go this direction. We'll see. We'll see. It might not.
On Susan Twist, by the way, obviously was the happy hiker woman that Ruby sort of half recognized from the ambulance thing.
She started to recognize him, so she has a perception filter, I think. Which is probably would be what would happen. Now, who is Triad? Who's Susan? Did she pick up the tooth? We'll find out in series 1 or 2.
Maybe there'll be a twist at the end.
There'll be a twist. There's always a twist. There's always a
twist at the end.
I feel like this is the 4th time. I feel like when we get to Rogue, the penultimate before the series, maybe Twist won't be there. Maybe she'll be like, hello, I am the one who waits. But obviously, some of the theories up to this point was Susan Twist or Mrs. Flood was going to be older Ruby. That's now been denied. That's now totally not the case. We know that Ruby will age and won't be Susan or.
That's true.
So it remains that Mrs. Flood is who? Is it Susan? Is Susan Twist Susan? Like it's who is who? It's Doctor on acid, everyone.
He is a Susan Twist.
Yes. Yeah, like, oh my god, there really was a twist at the end.
I hope it's not that in a way, because I always hope that there's a surprise compared to what's guests and stuff. But I can just imagine Russell doing that and just being like, oh, I'm so proud of myself. We cast Susan Twist as Susan, and it's a twist.
Yeah, it'll just be like that meme where it's just Russell's just giving himself a gold medal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Russell T Davies have to write in 73 yards.
No,
be this is he was like, this is the best thing I've ever written, or something like that. I'm
Here's 2 questions. So, question number 1: would you have found the episode better if it was in the original Welsh language instead of it being 73 yards translated? Because obviously it was originally supposed to be Welsh.
As in the title.
Yeah, it was supposed to be 73 yards in Welsh.
Well, what would that have been? Hang on. Just Googling. 73 yards in Welsh. No, translate. Sorry, carry on. Maybe.
I swear, so it was somewhere. I'm not imagining this.
Let me. Hang on, I will. Through the absolute magic of technology.
We have technology.
I know. It's this.
Yeah, so it would have been Seth Day Trilliard.
Yeah, that.
So would if people understood it, like, would it be better if it was originally untranslated, or do you think it would have been? It should have stayed the same.
I think I like it just being called 73 yards because, like, the whole time, because, like, I don't know. The only thing it would change for me is, like, I wouldn't have ever have gone away and translated it unless, well, I would have seen it on Twitter probably, but like other people doing the work. But the first time that it's said that Ruby's figured out that it's always 73 yards away is that conversation with Kate. So maybe wouldn't have realized it until then. But like with the episode title as it is, I was watching it always trying to think, like, what the fuck is the significance of, like, 73 yards specifically?
It was better 73 than 69, okay?
I mean, you've got a point there.
Nice.
Yeah, so maybe... And then the second question was, would this episode, obviously for some people, would it be better if she got to the pub, Mad Jack's fight, the story of Mad Jack? It kind of feels like the story of Mad Jack. Would it be better to go, each of them tell a story going, oh, this is the Minister of War in 2043, this person that comes back? Would it be a different episode? Would you feel like that would have been something to add to the story, to have like each person tell a story that would reflect into the future?
I'll let you go, Aiden, if you want to.
I'll let you go first because I'm still kind of thinking about it.
I've seen sort of other like thoughts that relate to this of saying like, oh, the people liked the aspect of the episode that was like set in the pub and that sort of like horror scene, and that it would have been better being that way. My personal opinion is that it would have been a completely different story, obviously, and like people are entitled to be like, and I would have preferred that completely different story than the one that we got. But for me, it kind of misses the point a bit.
Yeah.
And I think something would have been lost. Like, I think, let's imagine that version of the episode exists. It feels like that would have been a really, really creepy, scary, like episode of Doctor Who that like has great atmosphere and it's consistent throughout and it just does its job really well and then goes. But the version that we got was trying to do a lot, and as a result of that, like has things of like, you know, that are left open and like open for interpretation. And it can be about quite a lot of different things. And so for me, it's a lot more interesting, the episode that we got, rather than just a really, really well done folk horror story. If that makes sense.
Yeah, because obviously, I think if we went that direction, it would absolutely feel like that kind of campfire, sit by the campfire, tell stories.
Yeah.
But it felt like that direction, so maybe that was maybe the start of the intention, but maybe they went, maybe let's do this whole focus on Ruby, because Ruby won't have much time as a companion to develop their story until the finale.
I like the fake out.
I think the fake out's good.
Like, it's like, that's actually quite racist that you assumed that they were into the magic and stuff like that. Like, they're like, oh, we can pay by phones too. And stuff
Whoa!
Reminds me
Next
of
thing
an
you know, there'll be
episode of Still
Christianity.
yeah.
It
I love
reminds me
that.
of a Still Game episode where they go up to
Oh.
the north of Scotland. They go,
Oh yeah, it was one of the New Year specials. Like,
yeah.
yeah, like you never seen a £20 note before. I was like, aye, we have. Now get out.
Yeah, so it maybe we pray and hope that Russell watched that and maybe we wanted to put something there. But in my opinion, the consensus is just this one was very split. Whereas with the previous episodes, it was kind of Space Babies was generally disliked, whereas Love Squad was generally
I've seen
not
a split on Space Babies. Like,
Yeah.
definitely more more negative than positive.
yeah.
But I am a Space Babies defender.
But yeah, Devil's Cord was obviously more of a likable one, and then Boom. Obviously, there was no debate
Well,
about that. Everyone,
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was just Chef's kiss.
that was
Very
Chef's
good.
Kiss. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, now we're in episode 4. Now we're at halfway. I think maybe a reflection upon this could have been sooner. If the pacing was this fast, it could have definitely been sooner, before April or May. We're in May now. I don't know why I'm saying April.
Yeah.
I've traveled back in time. It's fine. Had it aired earlier, I think maybe we would have been left with a sour taste. I don't know. Maybe the earlier date could have worsened it or potentially made it better. We can't tell because we didn't. It didn't happen. And I think to try and imagine, oh, would it have been this? I think just kind of upsets you because it's like you want to love the show, but it's like if you're like, oh, I'm starting to think that this would have been better off in X Y month, then it's like you're already just doubting yourself.
Are people talking about that? I mean, I don't know. The only thing that I'm sort of like sad about is that by the time that it finishes, we've got quite a wait until Christmas for the next bit. But I guess it'll finish about the middle of the year, so I guess that there was no way around it. So yeah.
Yeah. Plus that again, like there was quite a wait between Church of Ruby Road, like wait towards the wait for series 1. So that again, it'll probably, like, I might be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure it's like maybe like it'll be about the same amount of time waiting for that as it will be for the next Christmas special, like from now, which is like
it'll be a slightly longer wait because
I wasn't sure. I mean, like I'm not very good at maths.
it was about like 4.5 months from Christmas to season 1 starting, and I don't know. How many episodes have we got left? 4, so it'll finish like
4.
end of June,
like,
so about 6 months. So
yeah, it's like we're halfway there, and we're living on prayer.
On the thing of like having it be like a shorter season and everything too, I know that they couldn't get around it because you film in Sex Education, but having a Dr. Light episode, as well, also this early into a Doctor's era, like I've had like only a few episodes with my boy, and he's gone. He's gone so quickly.
Yeah, he's just like,
yeah. It's like
Yeah.
I'm really loving Shooty, but like I don't know. I feel like I need more of him.
I think we're gonna get more, but I mean, obviously that was the constraint at the time.
Yeah.
They did do reshoots. They could have added it in, but maybe they thought, you know what, this doesn't need to be a Doctor Who episode. I kind of think this is kind of more Ruby's series to kind of expand her arc. Yes, we've seen how arcs go flux. But I think this arc is interesting, and I'm looking forward to seeing if it pays off. If it doesn't pay off, whether it's just something go woo. It's like it is definitely a bold move to a Doctor Light story. Maybe that wasn't the intention, but It is very good. I think maybe the novelization might have him in it. We'll see, and obviously that is obviously up to the debate.
Are we getting one for 73 yards? The novelization.
I don't know. I don't think anything's been confirmed. At least not that I'm aware of. Like I could be wrong. Like, but who knows? Maybe hopefully we'll get a novelization.
That'd be cool.
I
Okay.
think a novelization would be good because purely simply because it would.
Jess, what the fuck is happening? On the other end?
Yeah. It's all of a sudden you're just like, oh well.
Jess is having
Drops
an earthquake on the other end.
If there was an earthquake in England, you would have all felt it.
It's like, oh god, we can feel it all the way in Scotland.
It's you know, we're at this point, and you know, it is what it is. I'm looking forward to episode 5, what that brings. I think episode 5 is again maybe a Doctor and Companion light. Also, Daniel is asking if Dan is coming in.
We're about to wrap up, so
yeah.
we're at
Sorry.
52 minutes. Come on, like, so
Yeah.
But on that note, actually, any final thoughts on 73 yards? Actually, any final thoughts? Plus, how does this sort of rank in the episode so far of RTD2? Anyway, right. Jess, yourself?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the non-binary aspects, I rank my episode. Now that I've discussed it with people, now I've kind of looked at it. I think this is a very strong 9.5 out of 10 in my perspective. I've lowered my score, but it's not because of anything. I think it's just some outlooks of like how it fits into the whole story overall. It fits in, and obviously it's very leaning into what we're looking at as the one who waits and that mystery. But I would say 9.5 out of 10.
Lovely. Aiden.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Because I'd say I'd probably give the episode like probably 8.5 out of 10. Like personally, like, and in terms of where it ranks, I'd say my ranking right now would be like it'll be Boom at number 1 for season 1 or series 14. Yeah, then
Season 4.
yeah, I'm kind of like I don't know whether I'd have like the Devil's Court or 73 yards like going in second, because I kind of like go in between them for that. So I'm just like, I mean, maybe I'll have a solid final ranking when we get to the end of the season.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would go like, yeah, to go Boom, 73 yards, and the Devil's Court like just kind of interchanging. because I'm not 100% sure. And that
I'm of the same.
Yeah, and
that's why I've not.
yeah, and then
mentioned
the
my
Space
ranking.
Babies. Sorry, Raven. I know you love the episode, but I'm just it's
Which one? Space
I mean,
Baby?
yeah, fourth. Like, yeah, sorry.
It's all right.
The
It's
face
all
of
right.
disappointment.
you're like I expected better from you.
All right, I'll never let it go, and I'll hold it good for the rest of my life. But it'll be fine, whatever. You're allowed to be wrong, I guess.
I mean, at least we could both agree on Sylvester McCoy as the 7th Doctor.
Don't try and sugar me up now. It's Space Babies, not Sugar Babies.
That would be a totally different episode.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
You want some sugar, honey? I got some sugar for you, doctor.
Oh, God.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And that is a horror scarier than 73 yards.
Oh, Jesus.
All right. Well, for myself, right. In rankings, are you classing the 60th in there or just season 1?
Yeah, I did just
I'm
season
gonna
season
do
1.
just
Okay. Just season 1, hot take, because you know that I'm a Moffat fangirl at heart, but this is actually my favourite of all of them so far. I preferred it over Boom. So like this, then Boom. And then the others. and then
The others don't matter. Like, yeah, just
Well,
those two.
the others are good, but like it didn't feel special. I listen. Space Babies has a soft place in my heart, but it's not on the same level. I can see that. I'm not like 73 yards and Space Babies. One and the same. Like, no. So yeah, that's how it, like, I don't know, this tickled my fancy. Like the fact that I'm referencing, you know, shows and movies all over the place that I really love, and I'm like, it was like this thing, but also doing its own thing. It was yeah, it was exactly my kind of shit. Was very up my alley. And like the fact that because stuff was left open to interpretation, it means that my overanalyzing English teacher ass can talk about this for the next 20 years and still have shit to find. So that's why it's my fave. Cool. Right. I'm gonna wrap things up. Do people want to cringy ass goodbyes to wrap up?
I mean, it wouldn't be an episode of Tales of the Whoniverse without one.
Let's fucking go, Aiden. Say your goodbyes.
Right, I hope you all enjoyed this episode of Tales of the Whoniverse, and as always, yes, Queen Slay.
Perfect, 100% cringe. Jess, let's go.
And all of a sudden, we've got Boss and Ass.
Okay. I hope you all enjoyed that. Maybe different. Maybe you'll never watch this podcast again. But that was Tales of the Whoniverse. Thank you. Good night.
Hello, this is Kerry's, and you've been listening to the Tales of the Whoniverse podcast.